Hey, well, it's Thursday morning. And many of you know it's Los Angeles time, 10 o'clock a.m. It's early for us here in Los Angeles, but, well, because I work in the studio late at night and usually get done about 3 o'clock in the morning. So it's late. Some of you are drinking your water right now, and some of you are sitting at your desk. That's right. We're all going to drink our water right now. And all right, let's all get our water right now. We're drinking our water. We're getting excited. The one only Bishop Robert G. Rudolph Jr. is with us today. Now, let me say this about him. Every time he comes on the show, he's got something good to say. Let me add some light to this. Every time he comes on the show, he's got something good to say. Well, today is no exception. Now, I need you to do me a favor. I need you to share this with 2 people right now, or 3 if you want to. Because guess what? Some of you all are sitting on a lot of money. Or let's say, what do we call it? A gold mine. Or should we say a land mine? Not to blow up. No, you may be sitting on something that you don't even know that you own it. You remember how mama or nana or papa left you some land and you find out about it, 20 years later when it's a store up or it's a Target or it's a Walmart and you walking on it, shopping in there, buying groceries and stuff. And somebody said, oh, by the way, your grandmother owned this land and sitting on what? Oh, yeah, well, what happened was we didn't know. So we just didn't know about it. So what does that mean? You didn't know? Well, now is a chance that you can find out all the information you want to find out. Bishop Robert G. Rudolph is with us. Brother Steve from Hollywood, California. Share this video, y'all. Let's go. Let's break this up. It's Thursday morning.
From Hollywood.
Yo, DJ, are you done mixing yet?
Your DJ has only just begun.
Hello, I'm Bishop T.D. Jakes, and you're watching Brother Steve TV.
Hey, it's LaToya Luckett, and you're watching Brother Steve TV.
This is Rance Allen, and you're watching my friend, Brother Steve TV.
Hey, y'all, this is Landry Johnson, and you're watching Brother Steve TV.
Hi, this is Rodney Darkchild Jerky. This is Chris Tucker. This is Kirk Franklin. And you are watching Brother Steve. And you're watching Brother Steve. Brother Steve TV. Stay tuned.
From Hollywood, California, you're watching Brother Steve TV.
It's a praise jam party, yep, it's going up. Brother Steve, the Sunshine Band, that's what's up. Him and his crew, they really making stations nervous. Brother Steve deliver hits like the postal service. Must I remind you of his credentials? Brother Steve go hard, he go large, he's monumental. That's it, it's over. A finality, call the Paul Bearer, the station's buried in Cali.
360, going hard for the Lord. It's the praise jam party. Brother Steve is in charge. For all the hot exclusives and the brand new styles, tune in every week, adjust your radio dial to the most unpredictable show on the airwaves. From the land of the stars to the home of the brave. We go hard for the Lord. Yeah. That's how we reverence, we don't apologize for it. We go hard.
What a great day from Hollywood, California. More people are logging on. And don't forget, if you're watching the replay of this broadcast, we're going to have Bishop Rudolph's information on the screen shortly, where you can ask your questions and you can say, hey, give me more details about what you're talking about. But we'll get all to that real soon. Let's go to Arkansas. That's right. From Hollywood to Arkansas, Bishop Robert G. Rudolph. Bishop, how you doing today, sir?
How you doing, Brother Steve? Everything all right?
Everything's good. I see you on location. You just always busy doing something, ready to roll. You're making it happen. How you feel today, Bishop?
I am doing fine, and I hope you're doing well, and everybody is that's listening. I hope they're doing well as well. And I just look forward to being on this interview with you today, and a few of my friends, and I think that they can help us out all over the country, but particularly in a lot of the places that this situation is happening to. So I'm ready to go, ready to talk about a few things and introduce a few people on today.
Bishop, what I talked about in my opening, you think that's actually happening to a lot of people when people, find out later and it's too late? They go to they're at Target shopping, at Walmart, or at a clinic, and not knowing that your family owns the grounds, or your family did own the grounds of where that clinic is sitting. And the reason why you're not getting paid on it or getting something from it because you just didn't know. Talk about that, Bishop.
Well, Steve, the reason why I'm very interested in this particular topic is because I pastor, and there have been members of the church that I pastor who have had some interesting situations, and some land was literally taken from them due to various circumstances. And I came across someone who probably could help us to handle that situation, whether you are in the north, south, east, or west, but particularly in the tri-state area, Arkansas, Mississippi, Tennessee, and the tri-state area especially. I've seen a lot of this happen over a period of years. And so again, today I just wanted to come on and share with the people something that could possibly help them and help their families in a roundabout way. So I hope and pray that this information that we're doing today will help a lot of people.
Bishop, I'm gonna we've got some wonderful guests with us on today, and I'm gonna ask you to introduce them, and then we're gonna talk about some issues and things that they can possibly get the help and support that they need. They can look into it and give them some insight on what they need to do. I'll let you introduce each of your guests, and then we'll bring them on in that order.
Well, I'm going to do this. I'm going to allow Mr. Wilbur Peer, who serves as the executive director of the KKAC organization here in Little Rock, Arkansas. And he will basically guide us and facilitate us through this session on today. But Mr. Peer has been involved in government. He's been involved in politics. He's been involved in nonprofit organizations for many, many years. And he is very active in all kinds of areas of public knowledge that we need to understand on today. And so I'd like to present him to the audience on today, my good friend, Mr. Wilbur Peer. Mr. Peer, hello. How are you doing, sir?
I'm well. How are you, Bishop?
Wonderful. Wonderful.
Mr. Peer, as we kick off this segment of our broadcast, let's talk about let's talk about, first of all, your organization, and then where people can get more information about it and how long you all have been in existence.
Okay, Brother Steve, let me say thank you for hosting us.
Oh,
I feel like I'm in Hollywood the way you brought us on. Feel like a movie star.
You are right, Mr. Peer. You are the star today.
Okay. Well, thank you again for hosting us. Our organization's been in existence about 5 or 6 years. It's called the KKAC organization. The KKAC stand for the names of abbreviations for my grandchildren.
Wow.
Now, how did that happen? My brothers and I, and now my deceased son, and I have to say this to the audience, that
yes, sir.
He used to run our farming operation. He took his own life in April of 2018. We were farming a sizable operation, but during the time I suggested to them that we needed to create a not-for-profit organization so we could try to generate monies to help educate minority youth about the business of agriculture production. We realized that minority youth and some adult minority, particularly African Americans, associate farming with slave labor.
Yes.
So we started the organization, and we evolved from working with minority youth to actually working with limited resource landowners, to help them to understand the programs that's available to them through the U.S. Department of Agriculture, particularly the Natural Resources and Conservation Service. We refer to NRCS, which is the abbreviation for the Natural Resources Conservation Service, as a wealth building agency, and we will get into that a little bit more. But what we say to the minority youth, that is, if you're a farmer, you have to be a business manager. You have to have some knowledge of chemistry. If you own livestock, you got to be a biologist, know something about biology. You have to understand a little bit about marketing. And if you own 200 or 300 acres of land, you're pretty well off, right? The statisticians estimated there are about 7.5 billion people on Earth today. And by the year 2050, there'll be about 10 billion people on Earth. And we have to feed those people with the same amount of acreage that we have now. But doing our work with the limited resource farmers, trying to help them access the programs through the Natural Resources Conservation Service, we ran into a lot of problems with people owning land that's tied up in heirs property issues.
Wow.
So in order to access those programs, you got to show proof of ownership. Well, that was a major problem. So we evolved into trying to help them to clear up those heirs property issues. We have a young lady on the line with us that I'll introduce a little bit later on, that she will talk about estate planning and issues dealing with heirs property. But Brother Steve, I want you to understand, and your audience to understand, that back in 1915, near the turn of the 20th century, African Americans owned anywhere between 20 and 30 million acres of land. We lost 30% of that land because what? We don't make wills.
Oh my goodness.
Since we associate farming with that being akin to slave labor, a lot of African Americans just walked away from the land. And now we get calls, people living in Chicago and Washington, D.C. Well, I own 100 acres of land. I said, okay, well, when is the last time you've seen the land?
Oh.
It's been 20 years. I said, I can guarantee you somebody stole the timber. They may have taken your land through adverse possession.
Wow.
So our agency is doing three things particularly. One, we are working with minority youth and trying to get the state government to reinstitute agriculture education back into our public schools. In the Delta of Arkansas, that has been systematically taken out of our schools. Even the 1890 land grant institutions that was created for the purpose of educating our people about education, agriculture production, and mechanics.
That's powerful, Mr. Pierre, because what you're saying to me, you caught my attention when you came on, but when you said the basics of running a farm, it's a business.
It's a business.
My father always taught me, he said, son, if you can do a few basic things, you'll never be broke. He said, if you can, number one, always provide shelter for people, a place to stay, you'll never be broke. Number two, if you can provide some sort of way people can eat, you'll never be broke.
Right.
And number three, if you can provide cleaning, you'll never be broke. There's always going to be dirt. There's always going to be some sort of place people need to lay their head. And number three, you got to eat. So if you grow the cow, grow the pig, and do what you got to do, you got to provide food. You sit there for 2 weeks and don't eat, you be thin as a pancake, So I understand. It all ties together in what you're saying and what you're doing, and you educate young people because they said, well, I want to be a doctor. I don't want to be on no farm like no slave. No, you can go work your 9 to 5 and you be broke. Or you can own the land using your biology degree, using your marketing degree. Like I say, you keep on living. The barber is never going to be out of business because people are always going to keep growing hair.
So, Brother Steve, tell me this: how much time do we have? Because I need to introduce Miss Brassfield. I got a couple of other things I want to say, and Mr. Howard.
I want you to bring one because you got my attention. Even again, as I said, but this is a very powerful because you added a twist to it. Because you said we need to reinstitute these programs to help educate. And I think the bottom line of the day, as you bring on your next guest, people just don't know. They didn't know. All these grants and money that's available out there. I've got a grant writer who is working for our company. There's so much money out there, but people just didn't know about it.
Before I bring Miss Brassfield on, but let me say to you, Brother Steve.
Say it to me.
In Los Angeles, California, if you got a vacant lot, you can get a farm number from the Farm Services Administration through the U.S. Department of Agriculture and get a grant from the Natural Resources Conservation Service to build you a high tunnel to grow produce on your lot in Los Angeles.
Hold on, Mr. Pierre. I may have to leave because I'm about to go back behind my house because my neighbor grows chickens and there's 2 vacant spots behind my house here in LA. I almost told you where I live, but I'm here in Los Angeles. But
are you listening to me?
I'm about to call them up. Right? Hold on, let me call the administration. Right, I'm gonna call them up right now because this is. I say that again. I can find some land here in LA.
If you have a lot, you can go to the U.S. Department of Agriculture Farm Services Agency and get you a farm number for that lot, and then go to the Natural Resources Conservation Service and tell them you want to apply for a grant to build you a high tunnel. And then they will make the grant. You build you it's all sort of like a greenhouse, and you can grow produce on it.
See, people now my marketing mind just kicked in because I said, wait a minute, if they driving down the street, they're like, boom, almost hit somebody's car. What was that in the middle of nowhere? But see, I'll get the high tunnel, we'll build it, and then I'll put some billboards up there, and people can pay us to run ads.
Now, see now listen, Brother Steve, there's a big program going on within the Department of Agriculture called urban gardening.
Yes, sir.
So let me bring Miss Brassfield on now. What I want to talk about just before I bring her on is Bishop Rudolph. Why do we want to involve the clergy? Is because in the Bible it talk about inheritance, right?
Yes, sir.
When you die without a will, you lose wealth. There's no way around it. The clergy, the preachers, got the captive audience.
They do.
And what KKC, the organization, is saying, let us come to your church and help your parishioners make wills. We're going to write wills for them so they will no longer die and let the state take their resources because they die without a will. And I'll stop there. Miss Brassfield, Miss Veranda Brassfield, will you introduce yourself to the audience, and then we'll introduce Mr. Howard.
Absolutely. My name's Veranda Brassfield, and I'm an attorney. I'm licensed in the state of Arkansas. I'm a 5th generation farmer, and although I live in an urban area, with the information that I've learned from working with Mr. Pierre and KKAC organization, I recently received my USDA farm number. So I'm really excited. And as it was mentioned before, the ability to feed yourself and to feed others is extremely empowering. So I'm really happy to be doing this work and helping families to retain their wealth and retain their heirs' property.
You know, Ms. Bransfield,
that's wrong.
I'm eating breakfast right now. I'm thinking this time next year, I may own this pig I'm eating right now on the farm land. So are you telling me, now, you telling me you are a 5th generation farmer yourself, and you found out, hey, I can educate myself, learn about this, and set this up. What is one of the biggest problems you find out with churches and pastors and leaders in regards to wills and estates?
Absolutely. So, one of the biggest issue that I find just throughout our minority communities is that we don't like to talk about dying. We don't like to talk about what's going to happen once we pass on. And so we avoid doing estate planning because it's something that's uncomfortable. Well, you know, each and every one of us is going to pass on. We're going to die. And I know that God calls on us to be good stewards of what he has entrusted us with. And being a good steward means establishing an estate plan, especially if you are an heirs property landowner.
Well, let me say this to you. A lot of people will not do this because they feel that they don't own nothing. Or why should I do estate planning? I live in a 1-bedroom apartment. Help correct me on that.
Absolutely. And I tell people, if you own a pair of shoes, if you own a suit, you want to leave a will letting people know who you want to have those shoes and who you want to have that suit. And it's even more imperative when you are a landowner, because I have seen one house be left to 12 different people, and it's very difficult for 12 people to live in one house. And so you have to be thoughtful when you're establishing your estate plan about what you actually have and who would be the best person to pass that on to, especially if you want to preserve that for generations.
Somebody sent me a comment right here, and I'm not going to repeat the comment because it's my broadcast, and I do that for a specific reason to engage our audience in what we're talking about. And but maybe if you were watching previous, you understand, you know, what we do, how we do. But let me say this to you. What's the first step in getting started with planning? You have to sit down and figure out what you own, what you don't own. Let's talk about that.
Absolutely. When you definitely need to make an inventory of what you actually have and who would be the best person to pass that on to. If you have a son or daughter that wants to run off to Hollywood, California with Brother Steve, then you don't want to leave that person a farm in Dumas, Arkansas, because you don't want to leave them as a farm in Dumas, Arkansas, without some sort of entity that's in place that's going to run that. There are so many things that you can do. And so one of the things that I tell people all the time when I speak to groups here in Arkansas recognizes what's called a holographic will. And so I tell people, if you don't have an estate plan in place today, you need to take a piece of paper out. You need to write everything that you own. You need to list who you want to have that property. You need to sign and date it at the end. In the state of Arkansas, that holographic will, a will that's written completely in your own handwriting, signed and dated at the end, will be sufficient until you're able to meet with an attorney to get a proper estate plan in place. And so that's one of the first things that I tell people. If you don't have something, then we need to get you a holographic will tonight.
So they can they type it up on their computer and sign it themselves, and then that's like it's almost like the self-copywriting with the United States government, with the post office, or explain to me about that.
It's within that same vein. You're taking care of this yourself, but the very important thing and what distinguishes a holographic will from something else is that it's completely in your own handwriting. And if it's not completely in your own handwriting, if you're typing something, then you are going to trigger where you're going to need some additional witnesses. They have to be disinterested. So I try to keep it simple for people and tell them, hey, take out a piece of notebook paper, write out everything you own, who you want those pieces of property to go to, and you want to sign and date it, and it needs to all be completely in your own handwriting.
You know, let me ask you one more question. What about the tape recorder? Grandma not feeling too good. We know it's a matter of time. Here's the tape recorder. Does that hold up in court?
That's typically not going to get you where you want to be, and that's why we have to. And I have people that call me all the time, Brother Steve, saying, you know, I want to get a power of attorney over my my grandfather because he's developed dementia. You know, at that point, it's a little later than we need to be starting. We need to talk to folks while they are in their right mind, while they are in good health, and we need to get proper estate plans in place. And those estate plans are so useful for a number of different reasons. They can help you save money. You don't have to pay so much money to attorneys once you go to settle your estate. You can sometimes avoid the estate process or the probate process altogether. If you have a trust, if you can avoid some taxes, you can make the process much easier, because a lot of times moms and dads, you are the referees of your children. You know, if there's a fight, you're the person that's gonna be refereeing that fight. But when you're no longer there and you've left all of these assets to fight over, you know, you're just putting a recipe for disaster in place. So you want to make sure that you are very clear to your children, to your heirs, about what property each of them is going to be entitled to once you pass on. You want to make sure that each one of them has a copy of that will, because it's something funny about wills. They can get legs and they can walk away. It depends on who gets to the house first, huh? So you want to make sure that everyone has a copy of that will, and you want to make sure that you've got a copy with your other important documents, your life insurance documents. You want to have all that together, maybe in a safe box or something.
We're working with KKAC, the organization. Is it hard to set up, you know, the information to, if you own some land and you want to become a farmer or use it for that purpose? Is it hard to start the process? Is it easier to kind of work with KKAC to say, hey, help us get this process started? Or talk to me about that.
So, Brother Steve, what we do, it does not matter what state a person is in, particularly African-American person. We will direct them to the appropriate person to help them. One of the programs the NRCS has, there was a family here in Arkansas on 300 acres of land, and they was renting it to a person of the majority race. We tried to encourage them to enroll their land in the conservation easement program, but to cut through the minutia, they sold the land for $1,800 an acre. We could have helped them enroll it in the conservation easement program and got $2,100 an acre for it and kept the title to the land.
Wait a minute, $2,100 per acre?
Per acre. And they would have been able to keep the title to the land if the land had been eligible to be enrolled in the easement program, and it was eligible. So what we try to do—
Now, hold on, Dr. Peart. I'm using my little budget calculator. I just calculated, and I know Mr. Howard's thinking too. We're going to bring him on, but $2,100 per acre times 300 acres, that's $630,000.
And they keep the title to the land, Brother Steve. And what Ms. Brassfield was talking about, they could have gotten the cash, made a will, and where they could properly pass it on to their heirs. And chances are they probably would have died before they spent the whole $600,000. So their heirs would have had the land and the money. And what the government does with the land, once it's enrolled in the conservation easement program, they come out and plant hardwood trees on the land. And once the trees mature, that timber belongs to the landowner. The other part of it is—
hold on. So if I plant a tree, that can also be considered as farming too?
Absolutely. We teach woodland management. What I want your audience to know, no matter where their relatives are in whatever state they're in, if they own land, go check on it. Go check on the land, because there are a number of programs that's available through the government to assist them with the land.
Let me say this to you, Mr. Peart. Bishop Rudolph,
yes, sir.
Is shocking. This is you've taken this to another level. And somebody made a comment, Steve, you're eating on your broadcast. Well, you know, as I say,
it's yours, right?
It's my show. You know, I've been doing this for 40 years. I kind of know something about television broadcasting. And I guarantee you one thing, though, I got their attention because the point was made well clear. So, Bishop, you are telling me that all this information is out there and people are not taking advantage of. They're sitting on this land saying, well, we don't know. And then you, Bishop, dealing with pastors and leaders with wills that's not even in place. You probably can't count Now, your statistician probably can't. You can't count how many funerals you have done in a 2-year period. And then at the repast, yes, y'all sit there eating, and you're talking about, well, I don't know, mother may not, I don't know, bishop didn't leave none. We had to have a service, and I'm gonna give my $1,000 to help out this, because they haven't seen Attorney Brassfield. And then the church's property, they got all those trees and weeds growing in the back, Bishop. They could have seen Dr. Pierre. This is crazy, Bishop.
Well, the Bible talks about, and I wanted to allude to it earlier, the Bible talks about in the book of Proverbs, 13th chapter, 22nd verse, it says that a good man leaves an inheritance for his children's children. And that may seem like a small scripture or just a small wise saying, but it's probably one of the wisest sayings that we could ever have as it relates to the church. You know, Brother Steve, as well as I do, and I'm quite sure the attorney and Mr. Pierre, they have been familiar with families just in that same situation and really didn't know what to do, but they are sitting upon really something that could help them and help their family for years. So that's why we wanted to introduce this to the public at large, Brother Steve, because you know as well as I do, there are people in the church, church organizations, Baptist, Methodist, Church of God in Christ, non-denominational, you name it. We have individuals who are walking into those types of situations. And particularly, I can't speak for any other part of the country, but I know particularly in the South, there are a lot of individuals who have had issues with these types of circumstances, and we don't know what to do. Don't know who to turn to. Well, KKAC is an organization that can help, and so this information that is being developed and distributed on today, I hope this helps the audience that's listening, because we really need to do something to make a difference for our future.
Mr. Pierre, can you bring on Mr. Howard, and we're going to tie all of this together.
I will. Mr. Howard just started working with our organization, I guess, about 2 months ago. Mr. Howard, would you introduce yourself to the audience?
Good afternoon. Good morning to you, Brother Steve. Thanks for having us.
Yes, sir.
My name is Hartville Howard, and as Mr. Pierre just said, I just recently joined the organization as the deputy director, and it's been a very fascinating experience for me, Brother Steve. I know you appear to be eating well, but your head appear to be spinning a little bit from the information that you're getting. And I think that's kind of been my experience. Mr. Pierre told me it was going to be a learning curve, but it would come to me. And so I've been getting immersed into everything he's been talking about. At the same time, working alongside him and the rest of the team to help build capacity for KKAC so that we can continue to get this message out there and help build our communities back up. And so I'm just excited to be a part of the team and this opportunity here to be able to share this information across the country, because you know we all have family and many of us have this common experience. Unfortunately, particularly around the time that you just mentioned, when we lose someone. So we hope that, you know, although we all have to deal with those times, we hope that the sadness isn't because we hadn't been thoughtful enough to do what Ms. Brassfield said, produce a will and pass on our assets to our loved ones as needed. Thank you.
I'm going to ask Ms. Brassfield, after somebody's watching this broadcast, and I'm going to have Dr. Pierre give us the information where they can reach the organization as well. But after somebody watches this broadcast and they said, I need to start today with something. I mean, as you said, and you that was so clear. If you own a pair of tennis shoes, then you should have something in place. And in my demise, these tennis shoes go back to Macy's where I bought them from, or they go to my nephew and my niece. So what's the basic? I like to give people easy information, the basics, so they can start with something.
There are lots of ways to start. And before you visit with an attorney, there's some groundwork that you can and should do. One of those things is to have that holographic will in place so that if anything happens, you have something in place so that your property passes on. And then you can start gathering documents. You want to take to your attorney a copy of your family tree. And it doesn't have to be some elaborate thing that you've consulted with the genealogist to get done. You can just simply take out another piece of notebook paper. You can start in the middle of that paper with yourself in the middle, go out to the side of you with your sisters and brothers. You want to go down with their children, especially if they are deceased, because any of your deceased relatives, you're going to have to give notice to all of their children because now they are heirs or tenants in common as well as you. And so you want to go up, and above you, you want to put your parents' name. You want to go out beside, and you want to do this for each side of your family, your mother and your father. So you want to go out beside your parent and put their siblings. And then you want to go up from there and put your grandparents so that you can have a good picture of who all is involved. You want to put that together before you meet with your attorney as well.
Ms. Bradford, let me interrupt you real quick.
Sure.
I got a friend of mine who does music and entertainment, so he can help me because he's an entertainment attorney. Am I correct?
No. Okay. Typically not. When you are going out to find somebody, you want to get someone that deals in estate planning, or you want to get someone, and once you have got your estate or your estate planning issues in place, you want to go to get clear title, because a lot of families do not have clear title to land. And when I say clear title, I mean you can go to the courthouse and you can see who owns the land. Now, many times you can go to the courthouse and you can see something, but those people have been dead many, many years ago. And so you want to, at some point, after you've identified who the heirs or the co-tenants are, you've gathered up all of your documents, any wills that have been probated, any tax records, definitely if you've got foreclosures or any type of adversarial proceedings that are going on, you want to get to an attorney immediately. But you want to get clear title to your land, and you'll need to visit with a real estate attorney or someone that does quiets title to land, so that they can help you to get clear title to the land. And that just simply means that it's very clear to the public who actually owns the land, and those people are alive today.
Dr. Pierre, let me put this on the screen. What phone number can people call you all at or reach you to get more information? Then I'm going to ask you another couple questions, then we can end our broadcast.
Okay, they can call our office. It's 501 501 747 2968.
It's 747-2968.
That's correct. And Mr. Howard, give them the email address, please, to this, because I can't remember it.
Yes, definitely. They can reach us by email at info@kkAC.org. That's info, info @kkAC.org.
Thank you. And the other thing, Brother Steve, some of the things that Ms. Brasfield mentioned about what a person would need to do before they go to see the lawyer, if they will email us, we will send them a list of items that they should take with them when they go to see the lawyer. The other thing I want to finish up talking about people who own assets.
Yes,
so
sir.
My brother passed away in 2017. He had around $1 million worth of assets, right? We made a trust for him about a year before he passed. He had children. They were not his children, not his biological, but they were his stepchildren. Okay. It cost him $2,500 for the trust, right? $2,500. And in the trust, there was a clause that said anybody contest his will and trust gets nothing. That stopped a whole lot of infighting. Now, if he had died without a trust, they would have spent at least $100,000 probating his estate. So what I'm saying to your audience, if you own $300,000 or $400,000, go spend $2,500 and get your $5,000 and get your trust made, a will and a trust to save your heirs, so your heirs can spend your money and not a lawyer, or your assets go back to the state. Now,
can they update this trust or update the will as time goes on?
Absolutely.
Because I like that clause. That clause. If somebody contested, then you knocked out the game right away.
Ms. Brasfield, explain what is that clause called, Ms. Brasfield?
It's a contestation clause, and it's a very powerful clause because, like Mr. Pierce said, either you roll with it, you get down, or you lay down. You're gonna get down with it, or you won't get anything.
And so, Brother Steve, I think that for some reason, our people think hiring a lawyer is a waste of money. Well, they're gonna die and leave the money anyway. It's better for them to spend the money wisely by making these wills and trusts before they leave, because we all are going to leave.
Yeah, we are.
And so what we say, what KKC is saying to our people, let us stop losing our land because we're too lazy to make wills. And I'm saying to the pastor, to the clergy, you all start emphasizing that in your church. That I'm saying start talking about estate planning in your churches. Mm-hmm. And if you're in Arkansas and Mississippi and Louisiana, come to us. We will help pay for writing the wills.
That's powerful because Dr. Pierre, let me say this, because that's powerful, because a lot of people at this point in time think that, well, I'm not a millionaire, I'm not wealthy, I don't own any land, but everybody owns something. Because even if you're homeless and you own something with your homeless, items, they're going to give that back to the state and to the city, and something they may throw away. Because there are some people who are on the streets right now. Don't knock people on the streets. Everybody has it rough sometimes. But a lot of people are on the streets because they want to be on the street and they got money in the bank.
Absolutely. Brother Steve, I always like to give analogies. Ms. Brasfield is fighting a case in the court in Pulaski County, where Little Rock is now, where the court is taking land from some Black people. We got to them just before the last 7 acres of land was taken away. Ms. Brasfield, I'm putting you on the spot. She said, we're going to win, right? But the 20 acres that they were forced to sell, the judge sold the land for $5,000 an acre. I can guarantee it's worth at least $20,000 an acre. I'm just saying that when we don't take care of our business, it goes to the other people. Just simple as that.
Dr. Pierre, any closing? I'm going to go around the room to have Mr. Howard give a closing comment. Attorney Brasfield, give us a closing comment. Dr. Pierre, a closing comment. And then we're going to end it with some words from Bishop Rudolph. Mr. Howard.
Sure. I just, again, thank you for having us, Brother Steve, and to anybody just listening. It is kind of urgent. I know that's what I feel when I speak with Mr. Pierre about everything that we do. And it's urgent that we go ahead and get involved. And if you have these type of things going on in your family, please reach out to us so we can support you. Thank you.
All right. Attorney Brasfield.
I just want to implore everyone to absolutely understand the urgency of the situation and to know that all it takes is for one generation to step up and say that we are going to take care of these issues. We are going to put something in place for the next generation so that we don't lose our land, so we don't continue to lose generational wealth. And I just encourage all of you to be that generation.
Dr. Pierre.
Well, Brother Steve, I appreciate you. I feel excited. I feel like a movie star along with you now, Bishop Rudolph.
No, you're the star. You're the star,
No.
Dr. Pierre. You're the star.
I think, though, Brother Steve, that we have a tendency to blame other people for our situation. But even in the Bible, it says you have to study to prove thyself worthy. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of information out there. We're going to share it with them. If they call us and we can come to wherever they are, we prefer not to come to California. But if they got a sizable agricultural land holding, we'll come to California.
Wow.
We just appreciate you, and we would love to be invited back again. Bishop Rudolph, I appreciate you for putting us with Brother Steve.
Absolutely. And I want to have Dr. Pierce stay on the line after we go off the air. Bishop Rudolph, closing words and comments. This was powerful.
Well, I thank you, Brother Steve, for the opportunity to expose the audience to some of these things. And I hope and pray that this will be the start of us making a difference in situations like this. As a pastor of a church, I'm very concerned about my parishioners and those people who are involved in church activities. And so we are here to share what we can do and make a difference. And I hope and pray that we'll be able to get somebody's attention, because again, just reiterating the scripture we gave earlier, that a good man, it's very important that he leaves an inheritance for his children's children. As Attorney Brasfield just said, this is how we can start doing this. Take one generation to do it, and we can start by doing it this way. Thank you, Brother Steve, and I appreciate you for giving us the opportunity to expose individuals to this.
Once again, great information, KKAC. You want to call them up today if you can, 501-747-2968, 501-747-2968. You can email them at info@kkAC.org. No matter where you are, it's best to be educated about what you have, because it's not what you have, it's what you do with what you have that makes a difference. From Hollywood, California, I'm Brother Steve. We'll see you all real soon. God bless you. Take care.
We go hard.